Friends, how you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. We're studying Daf Chafei, Daf 25 in Masechet Nedarim, friends. Well, Daf 25 talks about, we wrap up the exaggeratory vows, and then we move on to mistaken vows. So that's what's on the agenda for today. Let's jump in. So we're going to start in Daf Chavdal and Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Omer Lei, Ravina le Ravashi. So Ravina Taka says to Ravashi, V'doma agave kino de shum shimone chozo, v'asik lohon shmadoli mitzrayim v'shaper mishtaba. You hear that? We were saying, what's an example of like a, what's an example of like an exaggeratory oath? Well, maybe it's talking about that he saw, the Mishnah mentioned it, and we talked about it in the Gemara as well, he says that he saw the amount of people that left Egypt, and that's an exaggeration. It's a normal way to sort of exaggerate and say the amount of people that left Egypt, but it's not like an exact number. But maybe, actually, he's talking about a bunch of ants. Right? Maybe he's saying the Shum Shimon, right? Kina the Shum Shimoni Chazi. You saw like an ant, nest. The Asik Lo Shmad Ole Mitzrayim. And they called it Ole Mitzrayim. Okay, so maybe it doesn't literally mean the people that left Egypt. Maybe it just means like this like ant nest that he saw, and he calls it Ole Mitzrayim, and he's saying that like he saw the amount, like the I guess the amount of people like in this ant nest or something like that, and he's actually telling the truth. He's not exaggerating. So Amalei Ravashi says to Ravina, Ki mishtaba adaita didon mishtaba. Look, when a fellow makes an oath, he's making an oath based on our das, based on what we would consider to be like normal, I guess, and therefore, ve'onon lo maskinon nafshin ashum shimone. And we aren't thinking that he's talking about like ant farms and stuff. If he says like the amount of people that left Egypt, it means the amount of people that left Egypt, not the amount of ants in a farm that you called Ole Mitzrayim. Alright? One second. Is that really the case, that people don't just like swear based on their own things that they think of? So, we learn in a brayso also, alright, that when they make him swear, if you have so the context here is if you have a fellow so Shimon borrowed $1,000 from Reuven, he only admits to part of it, so we make him swear. So we make him swear, Omrim lo, we say to him, every day you should know, look, we're not making you swear based on the things in your own heart. But rather you're going to swear based on what we consider to be, normal, Valdaz Bezdin, and based on the consideration of the court, Lafuke Mai, and what's it coming to exclude? Lav Lafuke Asik Luhu Leiskundre Vasik Luhon Shma Zuze. So is it not coming to talk? I think the word I've been trying to think of is conjectures, maybe, or something. Conjectures. Right? So is it not that what they're trying to, say is that you're going to be swearing based on what, how the Bezdin swears, and not based on what's going on in your own head, that don't think to like take like wooden chips, Vasik Luhu Lon Shma Zuze, right, and call them gold coins, right? It's like dollars versus doll hairs, right? Don't play games with us where you're going to say that like you paid, money, but when you meant money, you were really referring to like wood chips or, no, don't pull shtick. And what seems to be happening is that from the fact that Bezdin needs to go out of their way to say that, look, when you swear and you talk about money, you're talking about how we define money, not how you might want to make it up in your mind as money. So clearly, we do seem to be concerned that people might make swears based on whatever's going on in their fancy little creative minds. So, lo la'afuke mikanya derov. No, they're not concerned about what's going on in this guy's mind. What they're concerned about is maybe this guy might pull shtick, like in the following case with Rav. There was a fellow who was owed money, right? So Reuven had lent Shimon money. Also, Lekame de Rava, and Reuven, who's owed money, comes to Rava. Homer Lelove, and he says to the borrower in front of Rava, Zil Prali, nu, pay me back. Right? Apparently, it's talking about a situation of Modeh b'miktsas, right? That Shimon had admitted only to part of it. He says he already paid him back part of it. So Shimon says, look, I already paid you back. or at least part of it. Amalei Rava, so Rava says, Imkain zil ishtabale depraite. No, Shimon, if you already paid him, so swear that you paid him. So, Ozav v'aisi kanya v'yoyev zuze begave. So what Shimon did, Shimon was being a real shtunk. And what he did was he took a cane and he filled up the cane. It was a hollow cane, and he filled it up with the money that he's claiming to have paid Reuven back. And then Shimon is coming into Bezdin, limping with this cane that he's rigged with money. And so really, I guess Shimon didn't pay Reuven back, and he's just coming in with this. He's claiming that he paid Reuven, but he didn't actually pay Reuven, and he comes in with this cane that he's filled with this money that he claimed to have paid Reuven, which he didn't yet. He still has it, and he put it in his cane. Omar le lemalve, and then he says to Reuven, Nikotai kanya biyodach, nu, I'm gonna swear now. Can you hold on to my cane for me while I swear? Nosuf Sefer Torah, and Shimon then takes a Torah scroll. Vishtaba deproi koma dahavale biyode, and the son of a gun, Shimon he swears that he already paid Reuven whatever Reuven has in his hands. How, right? So Pasha, so everybody there was thinking, okay, Shimon's swearing that he already paid Reuven. But it's not true. Shimon was really being sneaky, and he's saying, no, whatever Reuven has in his hands. But unbeknownst to Reuven was at that time holding the cane. That rigged inside the cane was this money that he's gonna, then when he gives back the cane to Shimon, he's giving back the money to Shimon, but Shimon's technically not lying. How Malva Rogaz, now Reuven got so upset that Shimon had the audacity to lie in front of Rava, V'tavrla Ukanya, and he broke Shimon's cane, and then of course, all the money, came out of the cane, and they realized the shtick that was going on. So while it's true that Shimon was technically not lying, right? He was swearing that, that he paid Reuven whatever Reuven has in his hands, but that he was being sneaky because he rigged the cane with money that he then asked Reuven to hold for him while he made the swear. So, in order to avoid tricky situations like that, the Bezdin makes the litigants swear that they're doing things based on what the Bezdin would be considered fair, but not necessarily because we think that he's going based on his own knowledge and definitions of maybe calling wooden chips money and defining different things, or ant hills ole mitzrayim. No, that's not necessarily the concern over here. We're not concerned that somebody's going to make up his own definitions, but we are concerned that he might be a little sneaky, like the guy who rigged the cane with money. Wait, but no, are you really arguing that people don't just make up their own definitions of stuff? But we learn in the Brisa, we saw by our teacher Moses, that when Moses had the Yidden swear in Ba'avos Moav before they went into Eretz Yisrael, he says to them, every Yodim you should know, he says to Bnei Yisrael you should know, I'm not making you swear al da'atchem based on your knowledge, rather on my knowledge and the knowledge of God. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, v'lo levadchem v'gomer, that I'm not just, it's not, we're not making the covenant just with you, but also it's on my das and the das of God. So my Amr Lu Moshe Lisol. So what is Moshe saying when he says Al Daiti? La Vachi Ka'amrlu, is this not what he's saying to them? Duma avidtun mile, that maybe you're going to do epis, right? Something that's not good. V'amrisun, you're going to say, look, Al Daitenu. We were, we only accepted our own personal definitions of these stipulations. So Mishumachi, for this reason, Amar Lahu, that's why Moshe says to them, Al Daiti, based on my knowledge and my definitions, La'afuke mai, lav la'afuke dasiku shmal avodis kechav meloya. No, is it not that he's trying to prevent a situation where the Bnei Yisrael are going to say, look, when we said God, we really meant Getchke. Right? When we said God, we were really referring to Avodah Zarah, but we never actually technically swore to God. So Michlal, the Ovid Inish, the Mishtah Badaita Denafshe. So we see that people do make oaths based on their own definitions, which is what Moshe had to Davka, make sure to make clear that they would avoid doing that. Right, and that's why he said Daiti, that you're going to swear based on my definitions, not yours. Lo, no. Avodus Kochav Mikri Eloa. That, no, they weren't going to make up their own definitions. There was no need to make up their own definitions because Avodah Zarah is actually called Eloah, is actually called gods. It says all the gods of Israel, of Egypt. So it's not that they were necessarily going to make up their own definitions. Okay, Village ba Yason the Mekaimisun mitzvahs. So, but the Gemara still is not impressed. It says, wait, Daiti must still mean to the exclusion of their own definitions, because otherwise Moshe could have just made them swear, that they'll be Mekayim the mitzvahs, right? Why do you have to say al Daiti and all that stuff? You say, right, Vilishava Yason the Mekayimisu mitzvahs, they're going to be Mekayim the mitzvahs. But that wouldn't be enough, because mashma mitzvah samelech, because you could say maybe it just means the commandments of the king, but not necessarily the Torah. Village ba yasun t'mekaymisun kol mitzvahs. But why doesn't he make them swear to do all the mitzvahs, which sounds like it's the Torah? So mashma mitzvahs tzitzis, but maybe that's only referring to tzitzis, the Omar Mar, that we said shkula mitzvahs tzitzis, kneged kol mitzvahs shebatorah. That the mitzvah of tzitzis is like all the mitzvahs in the Torah. So maybe if he says kol mitzvahs, it might only dafka mean tzitzis. V'lash bayasun to mekaymisun Torah. But so why doesn't he make them swear that they'll be mekayim the Torah? Mashma Torah achas. Well, maybe that's only one Torah, right? We of course have Torah shebechsav and Torah shebal peh. V'lash bayasun to mekaymisun Torahs. But maybe you should make them swear that they'll be mekayim Torahs, plural. Mashma Torahs mincha, Torahs chatos, Torahs osham. But if he said that, it might be referring to the Torah of the chatos, the osham, the mincha. Alright. So why not make them swear by the Torahs and the mitzvahs? So Torahs mashma Torahs ha-mincha. Yeah, but Torahs, as we said, could be referring to like the rules of the mincha and the chatas and the osham. Mitzvahs mashma mitzvah samelech. And mitzvahs could be referring to the commandments of the king, but not necessarily the Torah. V'lishba yasun dim kamisun Torah kule. So why doesn't Moshe Rabbeinu could have made them swear that they'll be mekayim the entire Torah? So Torah kula mashma avodas kochavim. Yeah, but the entire Torah could be a reference to avodah zarah. The Tanyas we learn in the Brayso chamur avodas kochavim shkol hakofer ba kilu mod ba Torah kula. Right, Torah kula could be referring to avodah zarah, as it says chamur avodas kochavim. The avodas kochavim is so stringent shkol hakofer ba, that anybody who denies avodah zarah, ki'ilu moda b'Torah kula, it's like he's admitting to the entire Torah. So we see that avodah zarah is considered is compared to like the whole Torah. V'lash ba'ya v'lishava yason tim kamisun avodas kochavim v'Torah kula. But why not have them swear that they'll be mekayim, make sure, to denounce avodah zarah and to avoid avodah zarah, and be mekayim the entire Torah. Inami sheish meos v'shlosh esrei mitzvahs. Or say that, right, making you make an oath about all of the 613 mitzvahs, right? From the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't, say that, making you make an oath to be mekayim the 613 mitzvahs, but he went out of his way to say al daiti. Doesn't that imply that it might be based on their own interpretations? So Moshe Rabbeinu milsad lo tricha nachad. No, not necessarily. The reason why I mentioned daiti is it was like the easiest way for him to say it, but not necessarily to imply that otherwise they would make up their own definitions. Alright, fine. Imlora isi nochosh kekors beis abad, the Mishnah had said that, if he makes a neder, that, if he didn't see like a snake the size of the olive press, which we said was just crazy talk. Below, what, you can't have a snake the size of the olive press? But there was a certain snake who lived during the time of King Shapur. Romule Tlesar or Vasa the Tivna, and they fed him 13 stablefuls of hay. Uvali Yasan, he ate all of them. So clearly you can't have such a ginormous snake. So Omar Shmuel Bitaruf. So Shmuel says that no, what it's saying is that what's so unique about the snake is that it's ridged like the beam of a olive press. Kulu nachshe mitarif tarfe, but don't all snakes have ridges? Agabo taruf coming in. Yeah, but we're talking about ridges on its back. So this snake taruf. But why not mention specifically in the Mishnah Taruf, like the ridges, if that's what we're talking about? Well, it's teaching us another thing. Well, it's teaching that the beam of a olive press is ridged. Why do we need to know that the beam of the olive press is ridged? What's so important about it? For business. That if somebody is selling a beam of an olive press to his friend, it's only a proper beam if it's in fact ridged on the back. And that's what we're saying, is that a beam of an olive press has ridges on its back. That's part of the definition of the beam of an olive press. Alright, that sounds interesting to me. Well, that was that was that Mishnah about exaggeratory vows and oaths and things like that. Now we get up to mistaken vows. Let's see, what's a mistaken vow? Nidre shgogis, so what's an example of a mistaken vow? Im ochalti vim lo shasisi, right? He says, look, I'm making a vow if, right, it's a proper vow. If I ate epis, or if I drank epis, v'nizkar she'achal v'shas, and then he remembers, oops, I actually did eat or drink. Shani ochel v'shani shosa, if he makes a neder that, right, a vow that, right, based on if he will eat or if he will drink, v'shachach v'achal v'shasa, and then he made a mistake, and then he ate and he drank. Or if he makes a vow that his wife would be unable to get benefit from him, shegonva es kisi, because she stole his wallet, v'sheiksa es benir, she hit his son, but then v'nodab, then it turns out shelo ikatu, that she didn't hit his son, v'noda shelo gonvan, or it turns out that she didn't steal his wallet. Or alternatively, ra'osan ochlin te'enim, if you saw the people eating figs, v'amr, and he says, arei aleichem korban. So he sees people eating his figs, and he says, look, my figs are like a korban, are also too like a korban. V'nimtzu aviv v'achiv. But then it turns out that, wait, who are these people eating his figs? Oh, there were a bunch of people, but that group included his father, his brothers. But there were also others with the group as well, right? So a guy sees that there's a group of people eating his figs. So he says, look, those figs are also to all of you like a korban. Then he realizes that his father and brothers are there. So Beishamai says, look, his father and brothers would be allowed to eat the fruits, but nobody else, not the rest of the group. Beisil says, no, everybody would be permitted, as we're going to see in the Gemara, because the neder shuter mikzasu uter kulo, that a neder that's partially permitted is entirely permitted. And if he had initially said that nobody can benefit from those figs, but then he realizes that his father and his brothers are there, and he says, oh, my father and my brother, they can benefit. So it says, so Beishamai says, hey mutar umashimoim asurim. So Beishamai says, look, the father and brothers would be allowed to eat it, but everybody else would not be allowed to eat it. He only permits it for his father and brothers. Whereas Beisil says, no, the neder shehutar mikzasu utar kulo, that if his father and brothers are allowed to eat, so then oichet, everybody else in the group would be allowed to eat the figs as well. Says the Gemara, Tanik Shem Shenidre Shigogis Mutarn Kach Shvu Shigogos Mutaris, that just like the mistaken vows are permitted, so mistaken oaths are permitted. What's an example of a mistaken oath? Kigon of Kahana Ravasi, for example, of Kahana and Ravasi, Hadena Meshuvasa Dohachi Omarab, Hadena Meshuvasa Dohachi Omarab, that Rav Kahana is making an oath that Rav said this, and Rav Asi is disagreeing and making an oath that Rav said that. So the Chochad v'chad that each one thinks that they're making a proper neder because they believe in what they're saying, but one of them is clearly mistaken. So that would be an example of a mistaken oath. Friends, that was Daf Chafei, Masechet Nedarim. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.